So many people buy many phones for many different reasons. Some need speed, some need cameras, or some are just fine with neither of these and a sweet spot in between them. Balance. But I was in the market for a new smartphone last year and I picked the Galaxy S10e over various options. At least my two other contenders were the iPhone SE and Sony Xperia 10 Mark II. But I didn't choose the S10e for what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Just to clear up the air, I chose the S10e over both of them because the iPhone SE really had bad battery life. And I had mixed opinions about iOS back then. And also the 10 Mark II, well, Sony took its own sweet time launching it, so I wasn't really patient of waiting and buying it. So it's not like I'm not happy. I really am happy with this. But there are some times I'm like, dang, I should have gotten an iPhone. Dang, I need manual focus. I need manual control. I should have gotten a Sony phone. But the reason that it's not letting me switch, and also the fact that most of the times I'm grateful that I have a Samsung phone, is because of what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. But really, if I was offered a Samsung phone along with a bunch of other alternatives, I have a bigger chance of actually switching back to Samsung again. And here's why. If you were a person in 2020 and you bought a PC because it was 2020 and you were in quarantine and you don't really have a proper laptop, at least you're surrounded with dumb ones that you can work with of your work type and class. So when that's the case, the saver is DeX. Now, DeX isn't something entirely new in itself. Like Samsung introduced this way back over 4 years ago. And when it actually launched, it had to be used with a dock. And now, because of the fact that you had to spend more on the dock, and when you used it as well, the user experience was fidgety and not really great. It was forgotten by many and got mixed reviews by critics. And now, when you talk about it in 2021, it's a big lifesaver, and no other smartphone manufacturer, except for Huawei, but they're providing their own problems over there. No other manufacturer has actually done something like this yet. Sure, there are a lot of third-party applications that you can actually fire up onto a smartphone, but it isn't as polished as this first-party solution for such a user experience. And it brings to the question for you, the audience, what makes DeX so special? And you want to know why DeX is cool? Because I can operate my TV using my phone. Just look at that. So why is this really important? So DeX can actually work wired or wireless. If you wire it up, you can use your USB-C port on your phone and connect it to a monitor or a desktop. It'll automatically ask you if you want to use Samsung DeX. On a desktop, it seems a little bit useless, but on a monitor, when you connect it with the other peripherals like a keyboard or mouse, it's more likely that this is the PC that you actually want to use, because this is a PC if you connect it to a monitor. And better yet, if you connect it to a TV like this, it makes more sense for a ton of reasons. And now DeX, when it was introduced in 2017, it was a half-baked idea, but now that you can actually do a lot of things and they're all meaningful, like for example, 2-finger swipes, 3-finger swipes, zooming in and out. And instead of using a keyboard like this, you can just type it out using your smartphone, which makes even more sense because this is more better than just doing this. And also the fact that with an OTG cable like this, along with a hub, you can plug in a keyboard and a mouse and who knows, even use a Bluetooth keyboard, and it becomes an actual computer, except that you don't have the bulk. So with a use case like this, what can you do? Let's look at the uses. So when you see the fact that your phone is a computer for you, you've got a ton of use cases. Like for example, I can actually, at least for my use case that I'm talking about, If I ever don't have a certain laptop, as I was talking about, which can actually edit full video on DaVinci Resolve, and know that DaVinci Resolve uses a ton of GPU power, I can use this as my walking editing station. And because of the fact that I'm using an S10e in this case, and I want editing room and editing a lot of editing space just so that I could actually edit and not as a big fat phone, I can just fire up DeX and boom, I can use it wireless. And to make life easier, connect a keyboard and a mouse, easy. And what else can I actually do? So because of the fact that now many people are distanced because of COVID, you can attend meetings on Zoom. But if a lot of people want to see at the same screen and you don't have a laptop for the time, well then just fire it up DeX and boom, you can actually attend a Zoom meeting on a large screen TV, while at the same time, like, you can as well say hi on a nice, decent camera. So you've got a ton of use cases like this on DeX, but the fact that it's so underrated is also kind of underwhelming, because this is just really good. They've polished it for a good reason. That isn't to say it does not have its flaws. So when such a thing comes like this, the obvious flaw is my phone starts to overheat sometimes, and also the fact that the experience is rather finicky without a keyboard and a mouse. And now look, I'm not complaining about this experience. It's just the fact that it feels a little bit finicky unless I have a mouse, because using this as a big fat mouse, reaching my finger from this end to that end, it takes a lot of time. And because of the fact that I'm so used to this and I'm just limited to using one finger as my mouse over here, it's kind of limiting to use. So when you keep that in mind, along with the fact that your phone starts to overheat and there's a ton of battery degradation, it took over, like, after an hour of using DeX, it took over 25% of my total battery life, which is supremely taking batteries. So whenever you're DeX, you have to remember that you have to put your phone on charge. Secondly is also the fact that the range is pretty limited when you're streaming video, especially. Like, for example, I want to watch a movie, but then like I can't really use this website because, let's be honest, tvOS is pretty finicky on LG streams. So the whole point is that it's good for some things, but it is mentally flawed as well. But the final and biggest flaw is the fact that this isn't as finicky as I thought. But the whole point of using this is to fire up certain apps, and certain apps like Prime Video or even like other apps really can't sit to this aspect ratio. And if I'm actually wanting to show gameplays as well, because of the fact that it's using a mouse, unless I use a proper mouse connected, it really won't work. So the whole point of what am I trying to make over here? What am I trying to say? Is DeX bad? Is DeX good? Or is it just a fab-baked idea that somebody else is gonna start eating up and make better? Well, the whole point over here is that this is one in its kind, like the only proper first-party solution in its kind. And there are third-party apps, but as much as I've experimented with it, because of the fact that they have really generic way of presenting, along with ads, and like you have to pay for the pro version, I'd say this is far better than you expect. And this isn't trying to be jack of all trades and king of none. This knows what it means to be. It should be as close to as a Windows PC experience. And it's not trying to make you learn its own controls. It has multi-touch support. And you can zoom in, zoom out. You can scroll using two finger swipes, and you can use 3-finger swipe for recent tasks. You can do all what you do on a Windows-based desktop as well as Android. It's just that at some places you feel the need of a PC, and at some places you are given a well-off proper alternative. So I really want Samsung to even more fine-tune this. There is a lot of room for improvement over here as well, like the humongous battery taking situation and also the overheating at times. That's maybe because of the phone, but I've only noticed the overheating only when I use DeX and when I use my camera for 18 hours of filming. So if Samsung actually really fixes them this will and actually markets DeX as a big fat feature, chances are that this is going to be really great. And after that, I really didn't see Samsung market about DeX, even though it's really good. Like, it's given better care than Samsung's slow-mo features. So when you look at it from that point, I'd say this is a solid runner and DeX is pretty interesting to use.